Hey, it's MicheleMarieDalene in North American Snowgreen. Greetings and mirror me to all of you at a slightly different location because it was a little bit noisy out in the other room right now because my friend's playing his radio and remember YouTube policies, so that's why I came here because it was quiet. Remember I used to do the videos over here in the chair. I'll turn some light on here. See my better. The chair that was over here in the studio. And I'm going to have to keep it under 10 minutes in order so we can get this into YouTube without any major editing. Today, I wanted to talk to you briefly about what if high sorcery in the world really worked. And I was watching a lot of videos on the YouTube and on Netflix. And one of my favorites is She-Ra, the Princess of Power. I like that show. I like to get into it, but not as much. Anyway, here's the deal. I mean, would you imagine what it would be like if you had enemies and you could just zap that person out of your way? Oh, I know. That's the middle finger. Oh, gee. That's a powerful finger, right? Well, I zap you. But the truth is that unfortunately, high sorcery, for the most part, on Earth is pretty useless. Even my work as a North American Snow Queen this year has been pretty unsuccessful. So I'm a little bit upset about that. But again, maybe things will work out next year. We'll have to see. At least we got some light rain, but the word is light. I didn't get enough. Now, if I had the power like some of the other characters out there, such as Shadow Weaver. Yes, if you had power like me, you can make it rain whenever you want it by just waving your hand. Unfortunately, I don't have that power. But anyway, the point is that it really would be quite an interesting world if we had high sorcery was very effective here in the world. We could just see all the evil villains of the world, including some of the international leaders that give us trouble, like the former leader of Young Eel, the dad, not the Young Eel. I don't know much about him, but imagine if we could say, I'm going to wipe out that face and smile after the beast of the North Americans. I body smite you with the power of God. What God? No, seriously. But one of the characters, though, I've always tended to like was She-Ra, because I think she was kind of always a positive image. That and her and a few other characters. Xena and She-Ra are both pretty cool. And I like Xena's flying sharp frisbee she has. Imagine what you could do with that thing. And it turns out the She-Ra sword is actually quite a utility tool. And boy, I could just see someone saying, it's a lasso, it's a grappling hook, it's a club, it's a sword. Now how much would you pay? But wait, there's more. It also is a sexy symbol. Has a beautiful jewel in the center and a tilt, and it is nice and sharp. It can cut through steel. Well, maybe. But anyway, the point is the sword is certainly a utilitarian tool. Next video we're going to do several today at the same time. Only because I'm already set up for this, so I'm going to, I can work on several videos at once. I'm going to be talking about something a little more serious about 2002 preparations, and one of the things I want to discuss is, as much as I hate to discuss it, because I am not a person who believes in violence, is weapons. And we'll talk about that in the next video. But for right now, I also want to remind you that while high sorcery does not exist in very powerful form here in the Earth. In some dimension it may. So, keep that in mind. And often discussed is the use of firearms as a weapon of choice. Well, the problem with firearms is very simple. If only weapon you're focusing on using is a firearm, it's very easily to be defeated. Once you run out of ammunition and gunpowder, you're not going to get anything done. So people who are really preparing really need to consider the use of non-firearm weapons as well. Actually, almost anything that you can throw can be a weapon. We see people, for example, in a street fight that will use broken glass bottles to bricks and rocks to... Granted, those things don't really have much accuracy, and the idea is to cause as many hit points of damage as you can. But because I'm normally a person who believes in peace and honesty and love and generosity, I'd much rather have more of a weapon that is more of an intimidating weapon than one that can really physically hurt somebody. But if it has to be used for that purpose, has the ability to maim and kill. I don't, as I said, relish the thought, but there is certainly no reason why you shouldn't have a weapon that's not just physically intimidating, but also is physically intimidating. My favorite weapon of choice is a two-handed sword, like a broadsword. That's what I would prefer to have. It's called a two-handed, or because you can grab it with two hands, which gives you more power and more control. Another one you can use is a hand and a half, which can be used as two-handed or as a single-handed weapon. Usually it's a little smaller than a broadsword, and also it's got a very nice edge to it. Museum replicas sells the real deal. They're not fake plastic swords, and they're not stainless steel. Stainless steel, by the way, unfortunately has no tensile strength to stand up to a sword fight. It might look cute, it might be nice because it doesn't rust, but when it comes to actually inflicting hit points of damage, it just doesn't work very well against certain materials, because stainless steel is not very strong. For that, you need steel. And museum replicas sells the real deal in real steel. They go for about $200 a sword, and they can be, you can extra sharpen them. They're sharp already, but you can sharpen them even more. They'll even offer additional fee, the ability to fine tune the edge to get it as sharp as it can be. So it might be something to consider. Also, while you're at it, even though you might think it sounds kind of stupid, is the use of a knife. A knife, as well as a Bowie knife, is also a utilitarian tool. As we see Liz Stroud demonstrate in Survivor Man, the use of a knife is a tool that is a very good tool to have in your survival pack, as it can be used for chopping meat, skinning, flushing out food, gutting the fish, gutting your assailant. It's also good for, chopping down small things. A sword can be used for chopping, by the way, as well, besides your enemy. It can be used to chop through vines and tree limbs. Although, I'll be honest, trees will do a blade pretty fast. That's because trees are hard to cut. But, as I said, a sword is like a very utilitarian tool. But at least the one thing about a sword is you don't have to worry about getting accidentally discharged. What? Well, the only way a sword can accidentally discharge, I suppose, is if you had it sitting above your fireplace and the mount came loose and the thing basically fell on your friend's head. Clunk! That's not really discharge. At least, as long as you use the sword with respect, you probably will never have a problem with that. Remember, the sword itself doesn't pack that kind of a powerful punch where some little kid gets to it. Please, parents, I'm going to say something right now. Any weapon, keep them out of your kids' hands. I don't care if it's a sword, an AK, 47 or whatever weapon you choose. Keep it out of your kids' hands, unless you teach those kids that those things are to be used as a last resort for defensive purposes. Now, I'm not too enthusiastic about having a gun anyway, because first of all, you have to have what they call ammunition to use it. And a gun is one of the weapons that is, it's scary because it's small, but it doesn't really have much fear factor. Now, if I pull a big two-hand sword and I pull it out of my scabbard, and you see a blade that's 34 inches sticking up here, and it's sharp, double-edged, and it's really, really shiny, you're not going to want to be there. At least not on the receiving end of that pointy blade, which could seriously chop you up. There also is another kind of sword called a gladius. There's a whole variety of swords. Some swords are designed for a sideways slashing motion, this way. Some swords are designed for penetration, but no sideways motion. A good sword can be used for both impaling as well as slicing. So, again, you could use it for other things. I hate to tell you, but I don't think a fencing foil is going to stand up to kind of defensive fighting we're talking about. A katakana will, but it's a single edge. A saber will, but it's a single edge. You want something that you can slice in both directions, because obviously, if you're going to be assaulted by a thong of hungry horde, they're not going to be one or two guys at you. It might be as many as 3 or 4 guys. So you need a sword that can handle all that kind of fighting, from both directions. And of course, the ability to stab and impale could be useful too. Gun can't do that. A gun is point and click. I point, I click, bang, you're dead. Okay. But what happens when you run out of ammunition, or if the gun jams? Uh-oh, Houston, we have a problem. Now, one of the things that one person told me, this self-defense instructor told him, if you going to go after somebody with a sword and you got a gun, he's going to do more hit points of damage than you will, easily. Because, sure, you can blow his head off, but he could take your head off. So, it's important to make sure to eliminate the sword bearer first, because he's going to potentially eliminate you a lot faster and a lot quicker. Unfortunately, swords are also messy to clean up after you cut somebody's arm off or leg off, whatever. You don't really want to have to deal with the cleanup. Okay. But the other thing too is a sword encourages you to have to stay fit with a sword. I have to tell you that lifting a well-balanced piece of steel can be relatively easy when you're relaxed and you're recharged and you're refreshed and you're not under stress. But I can assure you, as I'm sure that our sword, even in the movies, even Arnold Schwarzenegger and Conan probably could have told you that even the sword he was using was still quite a heavy piece of gear. Now imagine if you're in a battle. There's different kinds of swords with different kinds of applications. If I was to have a battle inside this apartment, it would make sense for me to have a little bit smaller sword, maybe a saber, only because it's a lot easier to maneuver around. Or even have a Bowie knife. If you're gonna, or even a dirk. If you're gonna have a big 32-inch worth of steel and you're gonna swim it around to cut somebody down, you're likely to cut more than just your sail. You're probably likely to also break a lot of your furniture. So that's an issue too. Is how you use the sword. I haven't gotten my sword yet. I'm gonna get one. I really, really, really do believe in the use of a bladed weapon versus a firearm, because the fact is it doesn't require a lot of work. Another weapon I like, but again it kind of runs into the same problem as a firearm, is a crossbow. It's a similar problem because you got a string, the sinew, that you cock the arrow in, or what they call a bolt, and then you have to deal with cranking that up, pulling it up. That's the cocking mechanism. Ugh. And they come in different drawstrings. I mean, I'm not that strong, so I can pull maybe 50 pounds, but to pull anything heavier than that would probably be too much for me. See, because that's one thing with a crossbow is you got grab it by here and pull it up until you get to the cocking mechanism. That's right above my crotch is here. And then you have to pick it up, aim it, and fire. And it's quiet, silent. But again, it uses consumables, which is bolts. And once you run out of bolts, you're in trouble. Another weapon that might be good for a defensive weapon would be a trebuchet or a ballista. The problem with a trebuchet is it's big. And the same thing with a ballista. They can come out to be pretty big sizes too. And the problem is if you're trying to defend your home, a trebuchet or a ballista might be a good defensive weapon, but it's not going to be something you're going to be moving around. Even in the battlefields of Rome, it took days to set up these weapons, and it really, really was a lot of work to make a trebuchet do its job. A catapult is sometimes known as a trebuchet, but a trebuchet and a catapult, I don't think are exactly the same thing, except that both are what they call torsion weapons, meaning they use a sinew, in the case of a ballista, you wind up these sinew, which is usually made out of natural fibers. Could use rope too. They put the torsion, i.e. tension, and then that would propel the bolt out. But the problem is as much as wonderful it is, it's also very, very easy for the thing to go against its operator, because the handle can snap on the torsion device, and the next thing you know, you get hit by the handle that you're trying to use to torsion your machine. So there's got to be a lot of choices for weapons used. The most important thing is, for any type of defense, is you want a weapon that you're comfortable with. So if you're comfortable with an AK-47, that's great. If you're comfortable with a .22 caliber rifle, that's fine too. If whatever weapon you're comfortable with, the weapon has to be an extension of your hand. Me, I'm a sword wielder, so I'd rather have a sword with some serious bite to it. And I could see me walking down Main Street with a sword in my back, making trouble for me, boy. I'm gonna give you one. But it's not really quite that funny, because the fact of the matter is the sword also makes a mess, literally. You got blood and guts everywhere, and hopefully it's not yours, but if he's carrying a weapon too, like a sword, it's gonna be a matter of battle skill, and therefore, if anybody who learns from hand-to-hand combat, is you need to know how to outmaneuver your opponent. And this is meant to be a serious video. It may seem funny, I assure you. If things really get that bad, it's not going to be funny, okay? It's going to be messy, it's going to be bloody, your life is on the line, you're fighting for your life. And if you're out there trying to protect your family and your loved ones, because, against some angry, hungry person who wants your food stash, trust me, it's all too real. It's not like you see in the video games, it's not like you see in She-Ra, or even He-Man. Now, that's something else too. If high sorcery really had effective function on Earth, a person with a sword against, say, a sorceress has got like 0 chance, because a sorcerer or sorceress is very much like the guy with a gun. They have the ability to hit you straight on. While you're pulling the sword out of the scabbard, that's the last move you'll ever make, because the sorcerer and sorceress can just totally defeat you right there. Right in the most weakest part of your motion is getting your sword out of your scabbard. So, you need to consider that too. Well, anyways, I said this video is running a little long, so I'm going to get going. And I will talk to you soon. And, oh, by the way, don't forget, keep the comments coming, okay? And I will get back to you as soon as I see them. I always respond to comments when I get them, so don't worry about it. And like I did a couple videos ago, I will probably be taking some time to talk, to share them with you on my videos. Okay? Now, simplify and carry on, okay?